Story 1. The smiling man in the static. Me name is Alex, and this story is why I no longer have any curiosity about what lies beyond the surface web. It was my final year of university, and my roommate, Leo, was a tech genius with a morbid fascination for the dark web. He'd often regale me with stories of black markets and bizarre forums, but he always did his exploring through heavily encrypted virtual machines. He was reckless, but not stupid. Or so I thought. One night, fueled by cheap beer and insomnia, he called me over to his laptop. "Check this out, Alex. This is the real deal." On the screen was a minimalist, text-based forum called the Static Lounge. There were no usernames, just anonymous posts. "What's so special about this?" I asked. "The lore," Leo said, his eyes gleaming. "The story goes that if you post a specific sequence of numbers, a kind of digital knock, you get a private message from a user called the gatekeeper. They give you a link to a live video feed. They say the feed shows something from the other side. The other side of what?" I scoffed. "Reality? Time? Who knows?" The few who claim to have seen it say it's just hours of grainy, black and white static. But sometimes, just for a second, a face appears. A man smiling. They call him the smiling man in the static. The creepiest part, people who see him clearly. They report seeing him in their dreams. And then, in real life. I laughed it off as classic creepypasta nonsense. Leo, however, took my skepticism as a challenge. "Watch this," he said, and before I could stop him, he typed the sequence, 11.22.63.90. For a full minute, nothing happened. Then, a private message window popped up. No text, just a single hyperlink. Leo didn't hesitate. He clicked it. A new window opened, displaying exactly what he described. A grainy, monochrome static feed. The sound was a low, relentless hiss. We watched for 20 minutes. Nothing. Boredom set in. "See? Total waste of time," I said, getting up to grab another beer. That's when I heard Leo gasp. I turned back. The static was gone. For 3 perfect seconds, the screen showed a stark, empty room. And in the center stood a tall, impossibly thin man in a dated suit. His face was turned slightly away from the camera. Then, as if he knew we were watching, he slowly turned his head and looked directly into the lens. His mouth was stretched into a wide, unnatural smile, showing too many teeth. His eyes were black pits. The feed cut back to static. We both sat in stunned silence. The image was burned into my mind. It was unsettling, but we rationalized it as a clever hoax, a spliced video designed to scare gullible people. The problem started the next night. I began having vivid, recurring dreams. I'd be standing in a long, dark hallway, and at the far end, the smiling man would be standing, perfectly still, just watching me. Each night, in the dream, he was a few feet closer. I woke up every night drenched in cold sweat, my heart pounding. I told Leo, and the color drained from his face. He was having the exact same dreams. A week later, I was walking home from the library after dark. The campus was poorly lit, and a thick fog had rolled in. As I passed the old chemistry building, I saw a figure standing under a distant street lamp. A tall, thin man in a dark suit. He was too far away to see his face, but his posture was unnervingly familiar. My blood ran cold. I started walking faster, and when I dared to glance back, he was gone. The final straw came 2 nights after that. Leo had gone to bed early. I was up late studying when I heard a faint, rhythmic sound from his room. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded like someone gently tapping on glass. I crept to his door and pushed it open. Leo was fast asleep, but his window. On the outside of the glass, peering into the room, was the pale, gaunt face of the smiling man. His cheek was pressed against the pane, and his grotesque smile was visible even in the gloom. His long, thin fingers were tapping on the window. I screamed and fumbled for the light switch. The sudden brightness flooded the room, and the face vanished. I woke Leo up, hysterical. He saw the sheer terror on my face and didn't need an explanation. We spent the rest of the night with every light on, too scared to speak. The next morning, we wiped Leo's hard drive with a military-grade program, destroyed the laptop physically, and never spoke of the incident again. Leo moved out a month later. We lost touch. I sometimes wonder if the smiling man followed him, or if he lost interest when we destroyed our connection to the feed. I still have the dreams sometimes, but I've never seen him in the waking world again. I don't go out after dark anymore. And I never, ever look at static on a screen for too long. Story 2. The backdoor Sarah was a cybersecurity analyst, one of the best in her firm. Her job was to think like a criminal to protect her clients. To stay sharp, she would sometimes venture into the darker corners of the web, not for thrill-seeking, but for reconnaissance. She used the most secure protocols, a hardened machine, and a disciplined, clinical approach. She was a ghost. One Tuesday, she was investigating a new strain of ransomware being discussed on a hidden forum. The chatter was technical, vile, and arrogant. As she scanned the threads, a private message popped up from a user named Janus. The message was simple. "Your walls have a crack." A cold knot tightened in her stomach. This shouldn't be possible. Her operational security was flawless. She was about to disconnect immediately when a second message arrived. It was her home address. Her professional composure shattered into pure panic. This wasn't a random threat. It was a targeted attack. A third message came through. A link. Against every protocol screaming in her head, against her own better judgment, she clicked it. It was a live stream. The video quality was poor, but the scene was unmistakable. It was her own living room, filmed from a high corner angle. She could see her cat, Mittens, sleeping on the sofa. The view was from her new smart TV, a gift from her boyfriend. She had never even thought to check it for vulnerabilities. A chat box appeared beside the stream. Janus typed, "I've been watching. You're very predictable." Trembling, Sarah typed back, "What do you want?" "Nothing from you. Not money. I want to play a game. You find my backdoor into your life before I decide to open it all the way. You have 24 hours. A test for the great analyst." The stream went dead. Her home network was compromised, her sanctuary violated. But the terror was now mixed with a burning, furious resolve. This was her domain. She was the hunter, not the prey. She isolated the smart TV from her network and began a forensic sweep of every connected device. Laptops, phones, tablets, even the smart thermostat. She found nothing. Janus was good. She scanned for keyloggers, rootkits, remote access trojans. Hours ticked by, nothing. Frustrated and sleep-deprived, she broadened her search. It wasn't just digital devices. What about firmware? Her router was clean. Her printer, clean. As dawn approached, she was on the verge of despair. Then she remembered a peripheral she never thought to check, the wireless keyboard for her personal laptop. She pried it open. And there it was. Tucked neatly beside the battery was a tiny, custom-made device no larger than a thumbnail. It wasn't just a keylogger. It was a cellular-connected modem that could create a secondary, hidden connection to the internet, completely bypassing her network's firewall. A physical backdoor. She had installed this keyboard herself 6 months ago. The only other person who had been in her apartment around that time was her boyfriend, Mark. He had joked about her paranoia with cybersecurity. The pieces clicked into a horrifying picture. Janus wasn't a random hacker from a forum. Janus was Mark. She pulled up the chat log with Janus. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. "I found it. The keyboard. It was you, Mark." There was a long pause. Then a response. "Took you long enough. I was getting bored. Why?" She typed, tears of betrayal and rage welling in her eyes, "To see if I could. To prove that even you, the untouchable Sarah, could be broken." It was never about the dark web. It was always about you. She heard a key turn in the front door. She hadn't called the police yet. She was too focused on the technical hunt. She was alone. As the door began to swing open, she realized the true horror. The game wasn't about finding the backdoor in her devices. It was about discovering the backdoor in her life. And she had just lost.